JBL have kindly sponsored this video and sent me the warp core from Star Trek. Seriously, how is this a speaker? If the JBL Link Portable is an understated classic, then the JBL Pulse 4 is Timmy Mallet covered in luminous paint after dropping acid. And if you're American and you're saying who the hell is Timmy Mallet, you didn't have a childhood. Looks-wise, this thing is insane. I have never seen a speaker that looks anything like this. Philips Hue? More like Philips Who. Is that funny? The light show animations on this thing are absolutely awesome. And if you don't like the ones that they've created, you can kind of make your own, and you can actually take photos of things in your room and use that as your color base in a very similar way to the Philips Hue app. This thing on your shelf looks absolutely bonza. Is that a term I can use as an Englishman? I didn't think I'd get away with that. Now the app gets a bit of a bad rap because its primary purpose is to allow you to stereo pair two of these things together. I wish there was a way to do this manually just by pressing buttons on the physical device, but you have to actually open the app to do it. This poses a bit of a problem because it doesn't work the way you think it's going to work, and when you try to make it work the way you think it's going to work, it fails miserably. This thing will have you going round in circles for eternity, wondering what it was you did in a past life to deserve this misery. Getting this working is actually really simple once you know how, and in case you've bought two of these speakers and you're currently in the 7th circle of hell, I'm going to talk you through it right now. Do not pair both speakers to the phone. If you do this, you will want to kill yourself later on. Just pair one speaker to the phone, open the app, wait for it to find the speaker, play some music, then turn on the second speaker. Now press party mode button on your first speaker and then party mode button on the second speaker, and voila! You can now put them in stereo by pressing the button in the app. If you do anything differently from that, it will not work and you will hate yourself. When you open the app, you'll be faced with some very clean looking hipsters to remind you that you're too old to own these speakers. Ooh, look at me with my hipster beard covering up my baby face. Jerk. The app doesn't do much that I haven't already told you. Aside from the really cool color changing thing, you've got the ability to change between party mode, which is having two speakers in mono playing exactly the same sound, or stereo mode, where one will act as a left channel and one will act as a right channel. This is the reason I personally wanted these speakers, and they sound phenomenal when paired in stereo. Once your speakers are paired together, you might be thinking, I wish they were the same color. This can be achieved by giving them a good shake, but unfortunately they're very heavy and you look preposterous doing so. Don't caption that. The sound quality of these things is out of this world. Cue the Star Trek background. That's a rubbish gag. So I first looked at these things and thought they can't possibly sound any good. They're two massive glass bottles. How is that going to work? But they've got a 57mm transducer on the top and a bass boofer on the bottom, and they sound better than any Bluetooth speaker I have heard to date. It just goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover, because the cover of this book was drawn by a maniac. You don't have to take my word for it, take Derek's word for it. Derek is my binaural microphone, and basically if you put some decent headphones on right now, you should be able to get an idea for yourself as to exactly what these speakers sound like in my room. They are unbelievable. Passive radiators on the underside of these speakers give the most amazing punch and clarity to the bass that I have ever heard in a speaker of this size. Compared to my studio monitors, they're perhaps a little bit mid-heavy, but this speaks more to the character of the speaker than of an actual complaint. They are wonderfully well balanced. The very top end is missing a little bit of clarity, but that's Bluetooth for you, and you aren't really going to notice this unless you're comparing it directly side by side to a wired sound system. These are easily the most complete sounding Bluetooth speakers I have ever heard. They literally gave me goosebumps during testing, and I am not exaggerating. These speakers give 360-degree sound. Doesn't that sound clever? This means nothing, of course. What they're basically telling you is the speaker is on the top, but it doesn't sound quite as cool in their adverts to say, "These speakers sound proper good because we put speakers on the top instead of facing you." Oh, you needed more than that. Buzzwords? How about large woofers? Large woofers. These speakers are deafeningly loud, but you will only get them to about 70% volume before it loses its balance. You'll find that the bass is not as warm and pleasant in accompaniment to the rest of the sound because it can't force all of that out of its tiny little speaker. But don't worry, you'll never get them to that volume level before my missus tells you to turn them down. The battery life of these things is about 12 hours off a 2-hour charge, so you will need to get them charged up well in advance of taking them out on the road. There's a nice little indicator on the back, which I think is a really nice touch, but it's ultra bright. If you want to put these things in a bedroom, you can switch the light show off, but you're not going to sleep. Do you remember that day where we all woke up and we were suddenly living in a future where it was okay to throw electrical items in swimming pools? I don't know when that happened, but you can throw these 200-pound electrical items into a swimming pool, you won't die, and neither will they. They will last 30 minutes fully submerged underwater and just carry on being speakers, apparently. JBL put Google Assistant in this speaker and it sounds amazing. They didn't put Google Assistant in this speaker and it sounds utterly phenomenal. If I have one major complaint, it would be that I wish they had put the Assistant in this speaker instead of this one. This is a great speaker and it's very, very pretty and it sounds lovely, but this is out of this world, mind-blowingly good sound. I wish this had the charging base of this and Google Assistant built in. Aside from that, there's no aux input to stick an MP3 player into, or whatever it is the kids use these days, and I think that's a missed opportunity. But second of all, and probably more importantly, no microphone. This means that you can't make and receive phone calls via that speaker, which is a massive shame and will probably be a deal breaker for a lot of people. I personally think that anyone that speaks on the phone is a psychopath. That's what WhatsApp is for. The only other thing I'll say is I wish there was a way to stereo pair these speakers with a button on them instead of having to get the app out of your pocket and faff around. It is not easy, and I think the app could do with some more work so that it's not quite so awkward with the whole doing things in the right order. But that's my final complaint. If you're in the market for a set of Bluetooth speakers, there are definitely cheaper options out there. These are the top end of the market, but for good reason. If you've ever bought something that was expensive and then been disappointed with the way it sounds because it was gimmicky, this looks gimmicky because it's got the whole light show thing. It's not gimmicky at all. These are the real deal for sound. If you want something that sounds incredible, this is it. There are links in the description as usual to these speakers if you want to buy a pair. That's me done for this week. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. That tells YouTube's algorithms it was a good video and more people should see it. If you want to see some more of this guy, hit that subscribe button and ding that bell. If you ding the bell, it lets YouTube know that you want to be notified when I upload videos. These amazing people here are my patrons, and seriously, I'm hoping to eventually do this as my day job. These guys are making that a possibility and I can't thank them enough. If you want to be one of those guys, you can do that at either Patreon or buy me a one-off beer at PayPal, and either way, I will absolutely love you forever. This is my social medias, my Facebooks, my Twitters and my Instagrams. Come and hang out there and we can be best friends. See you next time. When your brain sees this thing, it will go, dopamine. Ugh, dopamine. Ugh. Not like that. Dopamine. Then the JBL Pulse 4 is Timmy Mallett's cupboard. In the 70s, only in the future. What is this? Ooh, look at me with my hipster beard hovering up my baby face. 60 to 70 point margin. What is that? What are you doing, idiot? I don't know why I just pressed record.